Okay, guys, so I just finished reading Origin by Dan Brown, and I wanted to share some of my thoughts with you guys. Obviously, this video is going to be 100% spoiler free, so feel free to watch even if you haven't read the book. So this book was published a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. It was very recently published. I don't really do a lot of new releases. I don't really read them, but this is Dan Brown, right? Dan Brown is one of my favorite authors, which sounds weird to say out loud. It feels like a confession of sorts. And that's something that I've always found a little bit weird and a little bit odd about people who enjoy Dan Brown but feel that reading his books is like a guilty pleasure and therefore they should like apologize for liking his books. Me personally, I mean, I've always really enjoyed everything that he's published, everything that I've read by him. I've always loved him. So basically, just to give you a little bit of a timeline of my good times reading Dan Brown, I read The Da Vinci Code, which was my first foray into Dan Brown-ishism when I was like 12, probably 11 or 12. I loved it. It's one of the fondest, most amazing and feverish, thrilling reading experiences that I've had. Then after that, I picked up Angels and Demons, and I thought it was amazing as well. I fell in love with this man behind these stories. Then the movie of The Da Vinci Code came out, and I loved it. I still love it. I still rewatch it. I love the music by Hans Zimmer, the performances, the way that it's shot and directed, and I just love that movie. Then I read the next book that came out in this Robert Langdon series, which would be The Lost Symbol. And I remember that I enjoyed it. It was very thrilling and fast-paced and full of this like weird, kooky information bits. But honestly, I don't really remember what the book was about. I don't really remember the plot or the big secret that was revealed. I don't really remember a lot about that book except for the fact that I enjoyed it. Then then the next thing that happened, I guess, was the movie of Angels and Demons, which I loved. I mean, I was so impressed with that movie. I really, really liked it. I still watch it today, and I think it's one of my favorite movies ever. And I know a lot of people don't like those movies, but I personally find them fascinating. And I think Tom Hanks as Robert Langdon, I mean, I could not have a mental picture of Robert Langdon reading Origin. I just picture Tom Hanks. He's so much my Robert Langdon. So I think the casting was really great. So anyway, I watched Angels and Demons, absolutely adored it, even more than the Da Vinci Code movie. Then after that, I read Inferno, which was book number 4 in the series. I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting thematically, the ideas of population, overpopulation, and all that. It was fun. It's another Dan Brown fun, wild ride. What's not to like? Then the Inferno movie came out last year in 2016. So do I really need to talk about what just happened with that movie? It was a mess. It was the worst movie of the year, if you ask me. It was the most disappointing, waste of time type of movie that I saw in 2016. I thought it was awful shit. So I just try to pretend it doesn't exist. La da 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 da. And then this book was announced, and obviously, I mean, if it has Dan Brown on the title, it became my second most anticipated book of the year, because you know that my number one most anticipated book of the year is coming out in 2 days, which is The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman. But okay, I will not talk about that. I will not go on that tangent right now. So, Origin. I was hugely anticipating this, and what can I say? Dan Brown confirms with this novel what we already knew, really, about him, which is the fact that he is a formula writer. He writes pretty much the same type of plot, the same type of characters, the same type of secrets revealed. It's pretty much the same. And I think Origin in particular is the book that the book from the series that emulates or replicates the Da Vinci Code the most. Personally, I don't have a problem necessarily with that because I love the Da Vinci Code. And I think the formula that it follows is really effective. And, like they say, if it ain't broken, right? So I kind of understand Dan Brown if he knows what works and he knows how to do it well. Why shouldn't he do it again? He does the same thing all over again, very similar to the Da Vinci Code. Like, there are clear equivalents, even character equivalents from Origin, and that are equivalent to characters and plot points and things that happen in the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, but even more so in the Da Vinci Code. So if you are the kind of reader, if you are the kind of person who would be really bothered by that, beware, because you could easily feel very manipulated by the author in here and by the publisher and by the people that are trying to make more money telling the same story. Pretty much it just takes place in another city. It takes place in Spain, which that's something else that I really enjoy about Dan Brown. He takes the readers along with him alongside Robert Langdon and his female sidekick in turn on a tour of this really great cities, and he introduces a lot of historical detail and information, and you really feel like you are learning as you are having fun, which is really great about this book. So you really feel like you get to know the world, or at least Europe. And the same thing happens in Origin. This time it's Barcelona. There's a bit at the beginning in Bilbao at the Guggenheim Museum, which I have never been to, but I want to now. But most of the book takes place in Barcelona, and we visit a couple of buildings designed by Gaudí, Antoni Gaudí. We visit La Pedrera, which is a beautiful building that I love. And then, of course, the big church, La Sagrada Familia, which is one of my favorite buildings. So if you enjoy visiting or revisiting this kind of touristy attractions in thriller fiction, go ahead and pick it up. You're going to have a fun time, and really there's nothing wrong with the plot necessarily. Well, there is, now that I think of it. This book is 500 pages long. It's not really that long, especially not because it reads so freaking well and it reads so fast, so quickly. It's such a fast-paced read. But my problem is most of the book, like the first 400 pages of this 500-page long novel, is build up. It's built up for the big reveal at the end, the big secret being revealed at the end. And my problem was that when the big reveal came at the end, I didn't really feel the impact, the shock, the repercussions. So I was kind of left a bit cold at the end. Regardless of that, I really enjoyed reading another Dan Brown, Robert Langdon story, even if it is a rehash of everything else that he's written in this series. I enjoyed it. It was all fun. I kept turning the pages because I just wanted to know what was going to happen. Now, thematically, it deals with a lot of things that I really like. And well, that's explored in pretty much all the other books in the series as well, which is this idea of atheism and science versus religion and sort of what he refers to as fairy tales. He compares a lot of the times he compares religion to believing in Santa Claus or in fairy tales, which I actually agree on. I mean, I am an atheist, and that's something else that I really adore about his books. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really enjoy reading this kind of intellectual, science-y thrillers that, even though of course I recognize as fiction, which is what they are clearly, but still I enjoy very much reading about, people who are trying to save humanity from religion and from faith. I really agree with those viewpoints, I guess. I wouldn't like I wouldn't like this video to become like a controversial debate on religions and atheism and faith. Just wanted to let you know that it was very enjoyable for me to read about this, people who are trying to develop science and knowledge to triumph over religion. That's just my personal viewpoint, and of course, we are all allowed and encouraged to disagree. So yeah, that was my kind of review. Was it a review? My discussion, chat, whatever it was, about Origin by Dan Brown. So please let me know in the comments down below, what do you have to say about this book or this author. He is an author that never ceases to cause controversy, and he causes people to have very heated emotions, and I would love to hear your or read your comments. Also, let me know if you have read this book like me. What do you think? Keep it spoiler free. Or if you want to read it, what are you expecting going into this? Did you find this review helpful at all, useful at all? Or if you don't want to read this book, or if you refuse to read this author, I would also really like to know what you think. So, thanks for watching.